the one indivisible consciousness becomes both the diverse objects and also the infinite individuals. It itself becomes both the void and also the matter, just like in dream. Earlier in this chapter, the words space and void were used interchangeably, and I think it would make more sense to use the word space here. So it itself becomes both space and matter, just like in dream. I pointed out that the different elements in a dream, no matter how varied they are, we describe it as all just a dream. Doesn't matter whether it's a mountain or your mother, afterwards we'll describe it all as dream. Would you say that your mother in the dream is essentially different from the mountain? No, you'll say, no, they were just part of the dream. How could the mountain be different from your mother? It almost seems absurd to make that distinction, doesn't it? Because they were all of the nature of dream. It couldn't have been your mother, any more than it could have been a mountain. But what about the space between the mountain and your mother? Is that different? Is the space in your dream different from what appears in the dream? Is that too of the nature of dream? It doesn't matter what appears in the dream, it's all dream. In the dream, the space is created, isn't it? Just as your mother, who might be deceased, is created. And the mountain, which is much bigger than your own head, is created. You could find yourself trudging up this mountain and experiencing all the difficulties that climbing a mountain entails, but it's all in your dream. It's all been created by your mind. So there's no essential difference in the dream between matter and space. And as has been pointed out recently, there's no essential difference between waking and dreaming. There's no essential difference between sentient and insentient, between matter and space. All this diversity is just experiencing, is waves upon waves of experiencing. It is pure. It shines in the manner in which it is conceived of. It cannot be removed. This consciousness alone becomes fire, etc. Etc. will be the elements, fire, water and earth. This consciousness alone becomes fire, etc. in the beginning of creation, for the purpose of constituting this dream world. It is pure experiencing alone that shines as the earth, etc., though in truth it is nothing but space, or void, which shines as the created world. It's a pity that the translator used this etc. twice. So I'll backtrack a bit. This consciousness alone becomes fire, water, earth. This represents the condensation or the coalescing of consciousness into increasingly concrete notions. So the earth consciousness is when you really believe in the solidity of what's going on out there. And then when we get on with that experiencing, gradually we start identifying with subtler elements, coming back up through earth, water, fire, air, and back to consciousness itself as the identification becomes subtler and subtler, and then consciousness can identify with itself once again. So one is the process of creation, and one is the process of dissolution, which points us to realization. This awareness or experiencing appears to be impossible to overcome at times, and at times it seems to be capable of being put to an end. In fact, it is not possible to put an end to it, because pure experiencing remains even after all the other things have been put to an end. It'd be nice to have an example. Well, I think we've got an example coming up, but this seems a little bit vague. The awareness or experiencing appears to be impossible to overcome. Well, I suppose it seems rather relentless. It's going on all the time. There's no way out of it, although there seems to be a way out of it when we're fast asleep, in deep sleep, or death seems like a way out of it. But there's not a way out of it. This that's being experienced now, this awareness that's being experienced now, can never end. We can hypothesize an ending. We can hypothesize gaps in our memory, memories of being asleep or unconscious. But this moment, this awareness, is as it is and as it will always be. Because it's not dependent on me, it's not dependent on you. These are notions. It is absolute in itself. It is like you're going from the east to the west. Now you know the east and now you know the west, but the experience of knowing remains the same. And that going from east to west can be anything. It can be anything that happens. Whatever is experienced, whatever is known, it's that knowing which remains the same. When you know something, what is the quality of that knowing? Is it dependent on what is known? That quality of knowing something is the key. Whatever you think of intently for a considerable time, that you experience, or you rest in peace and experience that peace. And this whatever you think of intently for a considerable time, it's what you assume. It's your fundamental assumptions about how things are. You think so intently about it that you don't even question about it. You're assuming it intently, without question. You assume that you are you, and that there's a world out there. That's what you think of intently. It's what you think of in the deepest recesses of your psyche. That's your reality. But if you wake up from that, if you can direct the attention back to itself, back to its own nature, well then you rest in peace and you experience that peace. You go from the east to the west and you know these. Another does not go but stays in one place and still knows these. The infinite consciousness, being non-moving, remains the same whether it is thus experienced or thought of. We're often told that there's no such thing as motion, and if you realize the nature of consciousness, then this is the case. It's absolute stillness,